It's 420 somewhere, and right now that somewhere is right here. Hello, I'm Janae Burris.
And I'm Jake Brown. Welcome to the Cannabis Show, where we talk all things weed. Janae, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm excited we get to show everybody.
Just snuck up on me.
Yeah. I'm excited. We got a new set to show everybody.
Yeah.
That's coming later on in the show. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
We get to sit on some couches. Vince arranged a coffee table.
I know. I can't wait to take a moment to take in the view over there.
Don't you just feel like we're like the elder statesmen of the Cannabis Show at this point? Like, we picked out a coffee table.
We are certainly not the elder statesmen. Good Lord.
We have officially become like the cannabis power couple.
No, that's still you and Sam.
Oh, okay.
How was her birthday?
It was great. We had a great time. There was karaoke. Although this guy who's kind of, I wouldn't say stalks me on Facebook, is like overly aggressive in liking my post.
But then you didn't find another word.
I think he's like overly aggressive in liking my post. Showed up at our karaoke spot and did my karaoke jam. And kind of sunned me on it too. It was amazing.
He was like,
oh yeah. I was just like, how do you do that?
Maybe
on
this
my
whole
fiance's
time he's only been following you so that he could one up you. He's like, I'm just gonna wait till he goes to karaoke. Ooh, just watching and waiting.
You jerk. How was your weekend? You do anything fun?
Survived Great American Bear Fest.
Ooh, you had a killer show though. I know you couldn't announce the lineup, but Ron Funches, the Sklar Brothers, Adam, Kate, and Holland.
It was really great.
Amazing comedians at Comedy Central.
A bunch of people were in town, and so they came through on our show. And Rack House, shout out to Rack House Brewery for doing a really fine job of making sure we could get good people in for the fest. They really cared. Rack House really likes funny people, so.
Good job. Thanks, Rack House. It's such a rare thing to find a brewery in this town that is willing to do comedy. There are just none of those shows out there. So thanks for being so bold.
You don't even know. Sometimes you don't get very supportive venue owners. They're just kind of like, they don't want to invest in you.
Right.
But Rack House does. They're like, let's keep making it better. What is it going to take to make it better? And you know the answer to that.
It's a really cool space. But the answer to that is just bring in a bunch of headliners and put them all on this show.
Yes. Yep.
Speaking of headliners, we do have an awesome DVD to give away this week, so stay tuned later in the show. For Pot or Not, you may have won Grow House.
What?
Snoop Dogg's new straight-to-DVD movie about weed.
Oh, snap. Yo.
We have it in DVD, and it's digital HD. I don't know anything else about this, but we'll be giving it out later.
We got to stop by the Goodwill, pick up a DVD player real quick for like $12, and then, it's on.
It's on. But right now, it's on the Week in Weed. And let's start with CBD. And I'm not talking about cereal bumblebee disorder, where like a bowl of Cheerios, you can only exclaim, ooh!
Oh my God!
Just a little breakfast humor to get us going. Set the table with that. No, this week we're talking about a big week in cannabidiol, with Colorado's own Lucky's Market making the decision to carry the hemp-derived extract at 25 locations. Our own Alicia Wallace has the story of how the Kroger-backed brand went all in on enriched oils, topicals, and capsules, making this a huge rollout compared to the flop that was Target's flirtation with CBD products in the end of September. You may remember a story where they briefly offered online selections from CW Hemp, of course, known for Charlotte's Web, but only for those products to disappear from the website, like one of our president's many deleted tweets. Lucky seems undeterred, however, though, with their director of apothecary, which is a real job, Cindy Wise, saying, quote, we're not afraid to be disruptive and to pave the path and be pioneers, unquote. The only location Wise may need to be concerned about is Bloomington, Indiana. Yes, they have an Indiana store, of course, but their police continue to cite stores carrying CBD products even after the state's Alcohol and Tobacco Commission issued a moratorium on arrests. They said, knock it off, you cops. While they've only come after 2 shops following that August 12th ceasefire, compared to about 60 beforehand, it's created uncertainty in the market, with Jeff Shelton, owner of Happy Days Smoke Shop, which definitely sells tobacco pipes, saying, quote, we definitely feel like at any time the rug could be pulled back from under us, unquote. Janae?
It's a mouthful, and a little bit of shade up in there today. Wow, interesting. I love how the weed reviewer was like, "Oh, that's a real job." It's like, come on. Wow, someone's gotten snooty. Okay.
Gotten.
You earned it, though. A Florida man who fought with flight attendants. Wait, I feel like I've heard this joke before. It always starts with a Florida man. Joseph Daniel Hudek V was just trying to honor the family name when he began fighting with flight attendants and passengers after trying to open the exit door on a Delta Air flight from Seattle to China. I want to fight every person that gets up and stands in the aisle as soon as the fasten your seatbelt sign goes off. Where are you going? We all have connections to catch. Wait your turn, okay? Hudek told the court that he had ingested edible marijuana before the flight and began feeling dramatically different once in the air. Oh, I have heard this joke before. Okay, yeah, Florida man takes edibles. Okay, take it easy with the edibles, novices. While over the Pacific Ocean and on their way to Beijing, Hudek began straight tripping and pulled a full Jackie Chan on attendants and passengers, bopping one over the head with a wine bottle. What the heck kind of weed was that? A magistrate judge released custody of Hudek to his mother so that he could return to Tampa, Florida, to a basement in Tampa, Florida, where he probably won't even be noticed. No one will even notice the erratic behavior. Hudek faces up to 20 years in prison for interfering with the flight crew and other criminal charges.
That's my favorite story of the year so far. You're over the Pacific Ocean. You're like, this door has got to go.
I gotta get out. I need some air.
Good God. All right, no more edibles on the plate for me.
Gosh.
Moving on to Washington, 85 words in the budget may determine the future of medical marijuana in this country, and they aren't all euphemisms Bernie Sanders has for the top 1%. Come on, he has at least 200. No, the item generating buzz is the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment, which prevents the Justice Department from spending resources to prosecute MMJ patients and providers as long as they're operating legally under state guidelines. In tandem with the Cole Memo, which we covered at length in episode 17 this season, also called Taking a Pharmaceutical Approach to Cannabis Science, medical marijuana spread to over half of the U.S. But according to the Baltimore Sun, the House of Representatives is looking to discard the amendment because of pressures from the nation's foremost elf on a shelf, Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Boo. The Sun describes the Sessions lobbying effort as quote-unquote aggressive, with the AG writing, quote, the department must be in a position to use all laws available to combat the transnational drug organizations and dangerous drug traffickers who threaten American lives, unquote. It appears the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment has bipartisan support if it makes it to the Senate, but that's a big if. Sarah Trumbull, Deputy Director of Social Policy and Politics at Third Way, lays out the worst-case scenario if it fails, noting this would give the Attorney General a blank check to go after medical marijuana, and literally nothing happens good when someone's given a blank check. I've seen all the movies. Janae?
No, gosh. I hope every time we boo that just a tear just jumps right out of his eye. And he's like, what's happening?
If I was any liquid in his eye, I would be trying to jump out.
He goes, it's dry.
That sounded real weird.
Hey there, Longmont. Welcome to the party. Woo. While its sister city, Denver, has had the privilege of being home to many medical and recreational dispensaries, our sweet baby girl Longmont has played coy and waited patiently for the opportunity to provide legal access to marijuana within its city walls. Makes me think of when I was a teen and my sister started dating. I was so jealous. I'd see her getting dressed up. Then there'd be a knock on the door, and a high school senior boy would be waiting there. And I'd watch thinking, I'm only 2.5 years younger. Why can't I go out and lose my virginity, too? I'm Longmont in this story. In a 4-3 split, Longmont City Council members voted to give final approval to lift its prohibitions against medical marijuana dispensaries selling marijuana for recreational use, clearing the way for up to 4 new retail businesses to sell marijuana within city limits. Hey, little sis, you'll get those numbers up soon. Worry not. This change comes despite objections from some Longmont citizens, like His Royal Highness Lon Stevens of Tuscany Court, who was quoted as saying, I can't imagine it boosts the city's image. I think that's what he sounds like. You're right, Lon. Wouldn't want to ruin Longmont's reputation for... Jake?
I've been to Longmont. There's some There's some things happening.
What's their image and their reputation?
There's a really good torta truck.
Oh, okay. Wouldn't want to ruin our torta
Number
image.
one on Yelp. Anything that's going on up there.
Yeah,
welcome to the club, Longmont.
Yeah, make some money.
Man, get paid.
Get yours. Get that paper, Longmont.
There's other weird stuff going on in Colorado. You got to check out the site. Wisconsin is going to go back to hemp farming. One of my favorite stories that we didn't get to cover. What else is on this laptop? There's, and if you're in Colorado, go and read all of the different proposed changes to our regulations here. They're accepting public comment. It's time to get involved. The legislative session right around the corner. We usually don't like sessions around here, but this is one where you can go and see all of the new proposed rule changes. It's interesting stuff, and it's about 200 pages. So, really dig in. Take a nice edible.
Just
don't get on a plane.
give us the Cliff's Notes.
Yeah, where's the Cliff's Notes?
Yeah, can you read it for us and just tell us?
Well, for more on this and all the stories from the weekend, we'd visit us online at thecannabis.co. Now let's go to a quick video on that CBD rollout we talked about early from Lucky's Market, and it was made by our own producer Vince. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel to see that video in action. Our guest this week is a cannabis yoga guru. Please join me in welcoming Stacey Mulvey to the Cannabist Show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
So our podcast viewers will recognize you from the time that we did Marijuana, and I have to admit, and I found out later, it was not the course for me. I got in like my second time for yoga, and everybody else was kicking ass and saying what a great instructor you were, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just lost at this point. I was dropped into like second year Russian. I'm like, I don't know yet. I still had so much fun there. Tell people a little bit, just briefly, about the class if they missed the intro video.
Sure. Well, it's pronounced Marijuana or Marijuana. Like it's okay. Like I'll take both.
I like that.
But it's basically marijuana and asana. Like yoga poses end in the word asana. So I just kind of stuck the two together. If that makes some sense.
It does.
Because it helps because a lot of people are like, how will you say that? Like I don't know how that's pronounced. So Marijuana. Yeah.
It's fun. I feel like Timon and Pumbaa right now, just saying fun words.
Well, I was gonna say it was your second time doing yoga
ever,
right?
And my first class was a restorative, and I was like, I didn't even really need to restore anything, but I came out sweating. The little block they gave me, it was I don't think they wanted it back. We could put it under the UV light and we'll call it good.
Well, a lot of people come to my class for the first time to do yoga. Like they're weed smokers, but they've never done yoga. And I'll get a lot of first timers that either like their girlfriend will drag them, or they just show up and they're like, yeah, I've always known I should do yoga. My doctor says I should. I hurt my back, and the weed is what brought me here. So, that is kind of what it is. It's a weed-friendly yoga class. We smoke weed, and then I teach them yoga. So. And I say yoga is kind of a generic term. My background is in Pilates and just other mindful movements. So yoga is like the generic term to just kind of sweep it all up.
Sure, everybody understands. Yoga is a concept. It's the thing with the pants and the mat. And we were like, all right.
Well, yeah, we kind of know what to expect. But I like to kind of distinguish that from yoga because my class isn't a typical yoga class because of my background in teaching movement. I add a little bit of, you could say Pilates, but it's really focusing on the experience that you have inside your body versus just like get into this shape and then hold it, and then get into this other shape and hold it. It's like moving through and really feeling what is going on inside you. And I do that intentionally because, we're smoking weed, or sometimes, depending on the venue, we will just take hemp extract instead, which actually does provide a really nice effect.
Okay, in terms of kind of anti-inflammatory, or just like kind of relaxes people?
Exactly. The anti-inflammatory, and then just the body like high. It's anti-epileptic, right? It's anti-spasmodic. It's anti-anxiety. So all those things that are happening in your nervous system, just on the reg, I guess, when you're taking a hemp extract, when you're doing yoga and you're moving your body, it's like I just feel like you're deepening that experience.
I came away thinking that I wasn't expecting to have a really inside my head experience. I was like, I'm just going to be focused on my body, and I came away and I was like, I was really just in the moment for a lot of it.
Nice.
And so we talked to a lot of people that day that were like, I regularly use cannabis, but maybe I don't go to a cannabis specific studio, things like that. What is it about cannabis that draws people to this practice?
So, for a lot of why I do this, I ask people before the class, like, so how many of you have smoked weed and gone to yoga? And it's pretty much like everybody's like, we all do this already. But the difference is the social use aspect. Like, we're going to be social. We're going to smoke weed together. We're going to make it not like something you have to hide that you got high beforehand. And, there's really no opportunity to do that in a sanctioned way right now, right? So it's an opportunity for people to go out, connect with each other, smoke weed, and then be doing something fun and mindful at the same time. So
I think that's my fiance regularly smokes before she goes, or she'll have like a hit off her vape pen. But what she really liked about Marijuana was that it wasn't that she had to worry like, do I smell like weed, or is anybody like looking at my eyes and like, yeah. It seemed like it was more relaxed. Are there people that kind of go too far, or are there any recommendations that you would have in terms of how to incorporate cannabis, maybe if it's still a little early on, either in your yoga practice or your cannabis practice?
Really, it's just with any consumer, I always recommend sticking with what do they say? Like, start low and go slow. Like, take a puff or a little bit of an edible. Like, I would be that guy on the airplane, like, running off. I took an edible on an airplane once, and I thought I was gonna die. Yeah, I was like, oh my god! Like, and luckily I just kind of like fell asleep like in my seat, and then I like woke up and I was there. It was seriously like 6 hours later, and I'm like, oh thank God, I just like slept through the whole experience. Because we're taking off, and I was like, sweet Jesus, like, what if I like start to scream and like, oh my God, this is terrible, but. So I stay away from edibles. But you're asking me about like dosage. I recommend like you start small, unless like, so, if you're an experienced consumer and you're like, yeah, I can totally take like 3 bong hits and I'm fine, then like, go for it. But if you're, new to it, it's like, just take a puff or 2 and then, chill out, and then we'll see how see how it goes. And then in my class, I always have a break. So you can,
cool.
So you can kind of say like, okay, actually, do you want more weed, or I'm just going to grab some water and chill out. So
and give people a chance to kind of recenter at least,
right?
And then get back in. And
right.
For me, it was just toweling off. So when we talked to some of our guests about I-300, and that was the big social use initiative, and when they had talked about the kind of businesses that might apply, it was coffee shops, yoga studios, places like that. Is there a discussion in the kind of yoga Pilates community about I-300 implementation? Do you plan on applying, or is it still easier to just kind of have venues that maybe look the other way?
For me right now, it's actually smarter for like business purposes to keep using the model which I'm using, which is to teach out of a private residence, because the law is clear cut. There's nothing I have to apply for or run by anybody aside from the owner of the property, right? And if they're in, then like no big deal. And So for my business, I probably wouldn't move to that just because it's, it just wouldn't work for me. But
Sure.
There was a time when I was still living in Denver, because right now I'm sort of everywhere.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about the jet setting space.
But yeah, I worked on Initiative 300, and I did want to apply for a permit back when everything was sort of forming and we were trying to get everything passed, and it looked so enticing, and it was like, yeah, of course, like that makes complete sense. And I mean, I'll admit I've been out of the state for the past 6 months, so I've only been sort of following what's been taking place on, Facebook and talking with Emmett and just kind of seeing where things are at. And it seems
Emmett
like
Reisdorfer, friend of the show.
Yeah.
Hey, Emmett. And also Facebook. It's where everyone gets all their news.
Just Facebook. I mean, come on. But from what I can see, it's been like drastically, like the options were drastically reduced, right, by the city council, and like it's huge.
Where you can do it, what kind of offerings you can have there, waivers.
If you could have it be legal just the way you want it, in a fantasy type of way, like what would that look like? Which neighborhood would that be in? Is that a warehouse, or is that going to be some beautiful outside?
All things being equal, yeah, I would love to have a warehouse in 5 Points. I would get a warehouse in 5 Points. I would have it be for more than just yoga. Have it be for dance, yoga, of course, Pilates, and then just have it be like an open space for community. And I know that there are people kind of doing that already, but as far as just having a community space for cannabis, but yeah, I would.
That encourages movement. I mean, those are different floors, those are different people. That's a different atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a different, more like artistic, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, that would be like my. If I could just like wave a magic wand and be like, ta-da! Like here's my thing.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I can't believe that the city council or anyone that worked on Initiative 300 could call what we have a success if the people that were supposedly this is what
like all for it.
tailor-made for your type of business still can't sign on. That's really disappointing.
And it's like at the end of the day, it all comes down to, is this going to work for a business? Like it might be one thing to set it up and be like, here's some impossible standard, like, well, yeah, we're not going to do that because we're, I'm definitely in startup mode, and a lot of people in Colorado, like we're still getting started. So so it doesn't strike me as being small business friendly, which was the intent the whole time.
Right.
I thought it was, like we're doing this for small business.
Give
and
a
for
hand
all
up to small businesses that are here locally that want to give people that visit or people in Denver a responsible place to consume.
Exactly.
But now you have expanded out, and I'm sure that there has to be all kinds of nightmares navigating all of the different laws, because Denver's different than DC. Where all are you now?
So I went to DC for about 4 months, and I was living in a home, and I was teaching regular classes, and that part was amazing, but working through the regulations in DC was an absolute nightmare.
Oh, that's what we've heard.
Yeah, it was so difficult. I did get it to where I had, I got my business license, I got a home occupation permit, which is what you need, evidently. Like I didn't, it's like I showed up, okay, like I'll get all these licenses and permits. And right off the bat, I had a neighbor who, realized I was smoking weed and started this big fuss with the neighborhood committee. And so
the old nosy neighbor.
So I had to,
can we give him a shout out?
Shout out to that neighbor, yeah.
And so you essentially had to go through a neighborhood
I had to go through, and speak with this organization, and just write letters to the DCRA. I will say though, I did get it to the DCRA to say, and this I think was amazing. They conclusively said they did not care that I let my customers smoke marijuana. They're like, what you do is not something we're concerned with. All we care about is capacity size. And so, yeah, I mean, I think about 10 years ago, perhaps there would be, that would not be the case.
You'd be in jail.
That'd be a big problem, yeah. So.
That's wild. So it comes down to people that are like, hey, listen, we have a vision for this neighborhood. It doesn't include having businesses in there, even though that's really your only option.
Right. So you're in this gray zone, and you just have to, work the system as best you can. Sure. But, ultimately, like DC, it just made more sense for me to be more mobile. I started teaching classes up in Boston, which is awesome. Massachusetts is... I know, like
I'm a big fan of Massachusetts. Not gonna lie.
Are you from Massachusetts?
I'm from Cape Cod.
Oh, okay.
What up, Massholes?
Yeah.
Can I say
Mass
that?
is, yeah. It's
wicked
such an
kisses.
amazing community up there.
I feel like everybody's really rallied around cannabis there, where it's different in some different other communities. Vegas, for example, I see it's and nothing about it feels very homegrown. No pun intended.
Pun always intended.
Just intend the pun, yeah.
Because everything there is so built around chasing kind of that tourist money. Where other markets are you looking at?
I'm actually going to Seattle in December. I'm going to be working with the Novel Tree, which they won like a Cannabist award last year. So
hey, shout out to the Novel Tree. What a great name.
So, yeah.
Did they win the Best Name Award? Do we have a Best Name Award? Is that a thing?
Should be. I think it was like Best Customer Service or Experience or something like that.
I wasn't very involved in the awards last year. I'm not going to lie. But I'm excited for the awards this year or possibly next year. Who knows?
Are there going to be awards this year?
I don't think so. We'll see. You know, the book is yet to be written. The carpet is yet to be unfurled. But so you're going to be working in Seattle.
So yes, I'm going to Seattle in December. That's going to be the second weekend in December, and then I'll be trying to get it scheduled. But either sometime around December, I'll be up in Portland, and also sometime around then, I'll be up in Anchorage too. So it's like a Pacific Northwest extravaganza that I'm gonna organize. Setting up classes in Las Vegas. Obviously, I'm still in Denver here and there. I'm teaching some classes last night and then tomorrow night. So I'm really, I'm really liking the chance to be able to go to all these other markets.
Right.
It's just, I mean, it's expanded my understanding of the cannabis industry.
Sure.
I mean, Denver is amazing, but Denver is, you know, it's Denver. And then once you kind of step out, it's like, oh my God, like there's so much going on in these different cities, and
there's room to breathe a little bit.
Yeah, and they all have their own unique identity, and I just think that's so cool. I mean, that's one of the reasons I fell in love with Boston is their identity there, and you know,
it's
DC,
so provincial.
definitely.
They're fierce. I've had other friends that have taught classes, and one of the big issues that they have is that it's, you know, there are a lot of people that want to come in and kind of do very similar things or knock off your classes. So when you're going from city to city and kind of setting up shop, how do you prevent that, or how do you make marijuana kind of very different than everything else and give a different value proposition?
Sure. Well,
and don't knock off Stacy, you bums.
Yeah, no one can. Yeah. No, I mean, it's really okay. I have the benefit of coming from the fitness world, coming from Pilates, where we really support each other as teachers, and there's no, I mean, yeah, there's going to be competition on a certain level, but at the same time, it's like you teach your version of Pilates, and I'll teach mine, and then let people, you know, decide where they want to go. And so
let the free market sort it out.
And exactly, right?
Capitalism applied to exercise.
But it's more than that. I mean, it's capitalism, but it's also, you know, you can't prevent an idea like this. It'd be like, oh, you know, only I can roll joints. Like, you can't roll joints. You know, like, I came up with that.
I can't roll joints. I've seen her try.
That was my idea. Like, you know, putting it in paper, that was my idea. You can't do that. Like, no, it's like, that's kind of absurd, you know? So there is like, oh my God, you know, like, I see this happening over here and over there, and like, oh, like, they're so great and awesome. And so you can play that game, or just look at it as like, you know, they're amazing, they're beautiful, and what they're putting out there is absolutely great. Like, I support it, and I'm really happy that people are finding cannabis yoga, even if it's not through me. As hard as that is to say, it's like it should be me, but no, yeah.
It's a good moment of honesty.
But yeah, I mean, I think the more we can support each other and then just build each other up, the better off like the whole movement's going to be.
What's the opinion of marijuana in the? Do you know other people in like other fitness areas? Like, I know like it's cool for yoga and it works with the pacing of yoga, but
rock climbers are scared.
Rock climbers,
shitless
spin
of
class
it.
people. I mean, is marijuana, because it also helps your limbs. I feel like I can do more in
Yeah.
any class if I have a little bit. What do you think about other people's attitudes?
I've encountered some really negative attitude with it, and I just look at it as like, well, maybe for that person, like either they've never tried cannabis with exercise, or maybe they had a bad experience, and so that's just kind of put them off, and so they probably should avoid it. But I think it actually works for all sorts of physical activity. I think if you tried it and gave it a shot, you'd probably find that, like you're saying, like it helps me feel coordinated. And really, cannabis helps you get into a flow state. This is like a thing that I'm, and maybe you've been like investigating it too, right?
I get in lots of flow states. That's one of my favorite things to do. A little microdosing, a little flow state action. I got plans for this afternoon.
We're gonna flow, yeah. So, so it helps you achieve a flow state, which, right, you can achieve a flow state just through a difficult enough task that you're challenged, but that you can still stay engaged. And there are like all these parameters that it's like you can enter a flow state, like if you were playing chess or I don't know, cross stitching, or like there's all sorts of like different activities that you could get a flow state from. And I feel like cannabis accelerates that. It helps you get into that flow state. So the activity is going to be individual to each person. Maybe the rock climber, maybe the stair climber, what have you. And I do have friends and colleagues that I've met who teach like aerobic dance class in cannabis, or and it's so you can apply it to more like CrossFit type or like more aerobic, which is just not my style. Like more power to those things. But I'm like
some tires. That's not your thing.
No, yeah, like I'm just gonna chill on a mat and like move kind of slowly, but. Even though I guess that was still tough though for you, right?
Oh yeah, I had the mic pack behind me, and then all of a sudden, I could get down. It was getting back up again. Oh God. I mean, I just got to go back to flipping tires, I guess.
You look so healthy and fit.
You do.
It's an illusion.
And then you start to move, and it all just falls apart.
Exactly.
She's just a cutout.
No. All right. Well, now it's my turn to get Stacey. It is pot or not, everybody.
I'll
no. Have my revenge. No. Pot or not, the way it works for those of you at home who aren't familiar with the game, I'm going to list off some things. They may be pot, they may be not. Stacey Chubb, tell me if they are. Stacey, are you ready?
Is our leaderboard?
Yes.
I feel like this is when we want to see it, right here, right?
The leaderboard.
Why is the leaderboard when I'm all shy and stuff?
Don, will you throw a pen at my head, please?
And right between the eyes.
We got a leaderboard. We got Don coming in hot. That was an aggressive throw, sir. I like it. This is why you tune into the YouTube channel, so you can catch all this action.
I want to encourage people to cut off the podcast and come over here.
Yeah, get on. Check out this
Who do I have to beat here?
It is electric. Amy Don.
Okay.
Number one. All right, so.
Yeah, Amy Don's number one.
Here we go. Number one. Fallen Angel. Pot or not?
I'm going to say not.
It is. I'm sorry. Off to a
terrible start.
It's
I wasn't ready to
Harvest
ring the
Seeds.
bell anyway.
Yeah, Devil's Harvest
monkey
Seeds. It's their cross of Coochie and Shoreline.
What?
Yep. That's the thing.
I don't want that.
Nope. I don't want it. It's good herb.
And first thing they're going to do is stick it in your nose and say, give that a smell. I'm like,
No. All right, on
what was it? Fallen Angel?
Fallen Angel.
Okay.
All right, number two, Bengal Chemica.
I'm going to say pot.
That is not. I'm so sorry.
It.
That is a pesticide manufacturer. Oh. It has chem in it, though.
And
so
like the ICA,
right. Bengal. Maybe it's time for those guys to change their whole business model. Bengal Chemical. What are you up to? Number three, Gorilla Grips.
I'm going to say not.
It is. I'm so
my
sorry.
God, like 0 for 3.
I'm just going to cover the bill.
All right, I'm not
That's
even,
fine.
you can just, like, that's not even going to apply.
Oh, no,
obviously.
you're still in the race for
I get somebody
Gorilla
going
Grips.
For a consolation prize.
I don't know if these guys still qualify. This is across a Gorilla Glue 4 and Blue Power. I wonder if they'll have to change their name. Sin City Seeds, I'm hoping you don't. I like it. Gorilla Grips. Number 4, Tuna OG.
It's a cross with Coochie and... No.
Okay, my instincts are, I'm going to go against my instincts this time, because I've been following my instincts. I'm going to go against.
Okay.
And
against your instincts for Tuna OG.
I'm going to say pot.
It is!
Yay!
We cracked the code, ladies and gentlemen. OG Kush and Black Tuna. All right, that's 1 point. All right, number 5, DJ Pooh.
I want that to be pot, but I'm going to say not.
It is not pot.
Okay.
She went with her instincts that time. All right. No, that's the co-writer of Friday, and also is involved with Grow House. Grow House on DVD. We're going to give that away in just a moment. But now for number 6, Mango.
Pot.
That is pot. She's on a roll, ladies and gentlemen. That's 3 straight.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's old school. It's mango.
mango.
Been around
Just
forever.
mango.
Just mango. If I said mangoes, it would have maybe been weird.
Wasn't that a Chris Kattan character on Saturday Night Live?
Was it?
Is that?
Mango, yeah.
Mango.
And the
I
little
swear.
shorts, yeah.
Oh, mango.
Let the internet check me on that. Like,
Check
I'm
it.
pretty sure.
Tweet us your favorite
Yeah.
mango gifs,
Mango.
internet. I know those. Or GIFs if you're into that. All right, number 7. Let's keep it rolling with squeeze cheese. Squeeze cheese.
I'm going to say not.
It is not.
Okay.
Woo,
Like, that's
she's on a
something
heater.
you pour on hot dogs or something,
Squeeze
right?
cheese.
Like-
What is squeeze? I know spray cheese or canned cheese.
I never heard it called squeeze cheese.
Well, that one is from Instagram user at Dylan_Red_Buck_ you got a DVD coming your way. What? Check your DMs. Producer Vince is going to slide on into them. All right, that's the grossest thing I'll say all week. But you got 4 points. Let's know with number 8, Chronosaurus Rex.
Oh, pot.
That is not. I'm sorry.
Why is that
one-
not pot? That
I
needs
wanted
to be
ring the bell
pot.
anyway because
Yeah.
it should be.
That was just in honor of Denver Zoo's Dinos exhibit. Dinos go high or not high.
Extinct.
Don't get high at the zoo, though. I think they'll throw you out.
Dinosaurs extinct. How can they be at the zoo?
This is a
We're all
debate
like,
that
I
we're
don't
going to have
yeah,
to have
she's
off
right.
air because
Yeah.
if the Earth is flat, you know where they've been hiding. All right, number 9, Dr. Robotnik. Dr. Robotnik.
Not.
It is not. Congratulations.
That's another
That's-
one I want to be pot, though. That
He's
would be
just
awesome.
the bad guy from Sonic the Hedgehog. If you
Oh,
remember,
yeah.
he's the big floaty roundy guy, I guess. All right, and to ensure that you don't have the worst score in pot or not history, number 10, Acapulco Gold.
That's pot.
That is definitely pot.
Yeah.
It's on the
I'm
card
not-
too,
yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. It's right. It's right there. Don't worry about me. You get people that accuse me of fixing this game far too frequently for a fake game show.
Yeah, there's a lot of forethought,
so,
foresight.
did I even
Yeah.
place on there, or am I just?
You don't
You have
place
a
on the pot or
place.
not worse stuff. And that's really.
You have a place in our hearts and
Okay.
in our minds.
Oh, okay,
Absolutely.
We'll
thanks.
remember it forever.
All right, Stacey, where can people find out more information online?
They can go to my website,
Okay.
marawasana.com, or they can find me on Facebook. And yeah, that's it.
Go online, book a class, everybody. It's so much fun. Janae, what do you got coming up? Hello.
Okay. I've got October. There it is. Hey, got no memory left, guys. Please let me read this.
Great edit point.
I'll be at the Soiled Dove in Aurora on Friday, October 20th, and at Catfish Haven. What? Where is that? Saturday the 21st. But first, stop by the Deer Pile on Monday, October 16th, 7 p.m. for a comedy workshop with the Pussy Bros. You guys follow me at Negative Negro. You don't have to say it to type it.
Wait, what's the comedy workshop? I haven't heard about this yet.
Judy, Judy Wolf. She asked us to host one. She runs a all ladies open mic, and she wanted to have a place where a lot of women would like to take a class. They're interested in dabbling or trying out comedy, but they want a couple key points. It's just kind of how I'm finding that, like, women, that's how our minds work. Not to lump us all together, but a lot of women I meet, they're interested in comedy, but they just want to know some of the finer points before they jump right into it.
Like a strategy, like here's something you
some
can work
basic
with.
stuff, a lot of things that we take for granted because we've been performing for so long, but where to find the mics, where's the website? Who do I talk to when I get there? What do I need to have when I walk in the room? So we'll run over some of the easy peasy stuff like that. You're welcome to come, dudes are welcome to come though. So
I like it. Teaching comedy, that's always the coolest part about comedy.
I can't teach you to be funny though.
Well, that's great. Janae, thank you so much for lumping all women together. Hashtag all women are the same.
thinkers.
Hashtag feminism.
All right, and you can find me out at the New West Summit in Oakland this weekend. Hit me up at Fake Jake Brown. Let's puff, let's hang. I'll be doing a bunch of panels, hanging out. Thanks again to Stacey Mulvin for joining us today. Thank you for tuning in. Send us your powder knot suggestions on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram now. Thank you for somebody who just commented on a random photo with your powder knot suggestion. That's a thing you can do. We'll apparently take it. For Janae Burris, producer Vince, and the whole Cannabis Show crew, I'm Jake Brown. We'll see you next week.
Ain't afraid to get in. I be going for the jackpot with aces in my hand, I'm raw.